Hello and welcome to this episode of the Be Free podcast. I have the lovely Louise Digby here with me today, and we're kind of looking at maybe something a little bit different for the Be Free podcast today, but something I know that is hugely important to us women, and especially women kind of maybe over the age of 40 or heading that way, just kind of beginning to look after our bodies and think about our weight and our health and how we can live this most vibrant, and I'll use the word nourishing life because I know that that's something that Louise is really passionate about. So Louise is a registered nutritional therapist and a women's weight loss expert, and I love her take on how she approaches weight loss for women. And yeah, I find her approach really, really fascinating. So um yeah, Louise, do you want to do a little bit of a little share as to who you are? Like, kind of, are you a mama or what do you do? All the things.
Sure. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm not a mama. I'm a dog mum.
Yeah.
So kind of halfway there. But yeah, I'm based in Essex and I work with women online, and my kind of work really came from initially it came from a kind of a passion from my mum, who she was really passionate about nutrition when I was growing up. And, so I kind of grew up with a good knowledge of food and how it impacts us, but not in like a diety way, which is,
Yeah.
really nice. Um, and so that led me to obviously study nutrition. And then when I graduated, I was working with everyone and anyone in terms of whatever conditions or problems they had. And then I ended up specializing and kind of narrowing that down to weight loss, particularly for women in perimenopause and menopause, because I saw it as such a problem area. I had
Hmm.
so many women that came to me who were trying really hard and were so disciplined, but not seeing the results they would expect, or the results that they perhaps used to get when they were a bit younger. So that was really frustrating that they weren't getting results. And, I like a challenge. So I decided to dig into that and, study that area and try and figure out what on earth is going on, why it does become so tricky during that stage. And
Hmm.
then that really led to me developing my method and what I do with my clients now.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and I bet a lot of women can relate to that because I am at that perimenopausal stage and I do have that little cortisol belly, and go to Pilates, do the weight training, live a pretty healthy life, don't drink alcohol, all the things. Yet we still kind of face that challenge. And I think probably a lot of women in this age range have grown up around that diet culture of, my mum and my sister, she always listens to my podcast as well, will agree with this. She counted every single calorie. Like, we could have told you the calories in a fudge or a whatever, by a really early age, and Slim Fast and Weight Watchers and Slimming World. And like, there was such a culture of that. Like, I think there's probably not a diet that I haven't been on. And I think it's such an unhealthy approach to just approach it from that one angle. And I know that's something you're passionate about, not just that calories in, calories out approach that so many women face. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is that calorie balance is just one piece of a very big puzzle when it comes to managing your weight. And that piece kind of gets smaller, or rather the other pieces get bigger when
Mm.
you're in this midlife stage. Um, and any diet is just a creative way to get you to eat less and maybe exercise more as well. So every diet out there just focuses on increasing that calorie deficit, but it's just not as black and white as that. And I've worked with many women who have been extremely disciplined. Some of them have gone to the extremes of having weight loss surgery. Some of them have had things going on that have prevented them from eating, like, major sickness bugs or that sort of thing. And they still haven't lost weight from doing, going to those extremes. And, it just kind of goes to show that simply getting into a deficit isn't enough oftentimes, and can actually make the problem worse. And I'm sure we'll get into why that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the women that do reach out to you, is there like a bit of a common theme? Is there like, you know, like why are women reaching out to have calls and find out more about your process?
The vast majority that reach out to me have really tried everything. They feel that their problem is that they can stick to a diet or they can stick to a plan, but it just isn't working.
Hmm.
Um, and then that obviously puts a lot of doubt in their minds as to what the right thing is to do. And there is so much conflicting information out there that, some of them just feel completely overwhelmed and stuck. Some of them try one thing and then they're not convinced it's right for them, and then try
Yeah.
something else, then try something else, and, keep cycling through different diets and never really getting anywhere.
Yeah, and I think it adds so much stress, doesn't it? Just that like I'm trying everything like, and this isn't working for me. And I think women at this kind of age in life, can be experiencing more stress with aging parents and perimenopause and trying to balance work and home life and all the things. And I know obviously like as a like a coach and mindset and meditation expert, the effect that stress has on us mentally. But from a weight loss point of view, how does stress affect the body?
Massively. So there's a couple of ways that it impacts us, and it impacts us even more so in this midlife stage. So first of all, when you're stressed, your cortisol levels tend to be higher. And cortisol, the way that it's supposed to work is, when we were cavemen, our main stresses would have been either lack of food, or it would have been running away from a tiger or that sort of
Mhm.
thing. So it would have been very kind of physical stresses, whereas now our stresses tend to be much more emotional. Um, and the cortisol response is the same whatever the type of stress.
Yeah.
And what happens is cortisol basically strips glucose from your muscles, kind of depletes your sugar stores of your muscles and puts it into your bloodstream so that you've got loads of energy,
Hmm.
so that you can run from that tiger, or so that you can get through the famine. But as I said, that same response occurs when we're sitting at our desks and we're stressed, or we're in traffic, or, when we've had more prolonged stress, like a divorce or something like that. But we don't need those blood sugars because, we've got plenty of food coming in generally. And, oftentimes our blood sugars are normal or maybe high. So our bodies are really clever and adaptive, and they store that sugar away out of circulation as fat around the organs and around the abdominal area.
Yeah.
So really, stress does drive that stubborn belly fat. That's quite a simplified explanation of it. There's obviously more to it than that, but part of the reason why it's so difficult to shift that belly fat is because it didn't come from overeating or laziness. It comes from that chronic stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, lots to process in and around that for anybody that's listening, and that opportunity to really um, prioritize that stress reduction. The other thing that you speak a lot of, and I know you do testing and around this, is gut health. And again, supporting women with anxiety and depression. Myself over the years, I know how important gut health is with regards to mood management, emotions. Um, Obviously, there's links here because it's something you prioritize with regards to weight loss. But yeah, do you want to just share a little bit on that, and then maybe how people can begin to think about supporting their gut health?
Yeah, the gut is so linked to everything that's going on in the body. Where we absorb our nutrients, and it's also where we eliminate our toxins. And so, if there's dysfunction in the gut, that has a big impact on lots of systems in the body. From a weight loss perspective, you know, hormones really control fat burning in lots of ways, and we have to eliminate our hormones, particularly our estrogens, via the gut. So if
Mhm.
your gut isn't optimal, if the gut bacteria is imbalanced, or if you're not having regular bowel movements, then that can result in you reabsorbing some of the hormones and also toxins that you should be eliminating.
Yeah.
So that can disrupt your hormones, which can contribute to weight issues as well. And then imbalances in the gut bacteria and yeasts can result in an increased toxic load, which again, those toxins get absorbed into circulation. Your liver has to process them and detox them.
Mm-hmm.
And, a greatly underappreciated thing about the liver is that it's very involved in hormone balancing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could go into a lot of detail about that, but I'm just conscious that we don't have a lot of time to get into the ins and outs of it. But essentially, the liver is very key to your hormone balance. So a
Mm-hmm.
high toxic load can be quite disruptive to that.
Yeah.
Um, and then, there's also more of the mindset side of things. There's a very strong gut brain connection,
Mm-hmm.
and we what goes on in your gut can impact your moods and your cravings and your energy levels. And we know that the bacteria and yeast in your gut can almost like place orders to give you
Yeah.
cravings for the food that they need to thrive, which isn't a good thing necessarily, because it's often the not so helpful bacteria that's doing that. So there's a whole load of things going on there. And there's many, many ways that we can support gut health. And a really good place to start is with trying to have a really good diversity of foods in the diet, particularly plant-based foods. Doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be having animal-based products, but having a good diversity of plant-based foods will bring in lots of different fibers and antioxidants, which will help the bacteria in your gut to stay diverse as well, because they kind of all feed on different fibers and fuels. So getting variety, absolutely key. And I always like to emphasize that variety needs to be actually different plants,
Yeah.
because some people feel like they're getting variety. And just for a very dumbed down version example, someone might be having Weetabix for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, and pasta for dinner.
Yeah.
They might feel like they're having three different things, but it's all wheat.
Mhm.
So we just need to make sure that is true variety that we're having, particularly when it comes to our fruits and vegetables as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen that? I wish I could remember what it's called. I'm trying to think there, that Netflix program that's out recently about the gut. And they take like three people or four people and they analyze their gut microbiome. And then one of them actually did like basically like poop implants. I can't remember what the proper term
Fecal transplant.
that's the word, the technical term.
Poop implants.
But it was so fascinating. It's like that perfect example of what you're saying there of how her mood and emotions were controlled by the gut microbiome because she then experienced depression, which she'd never experienced before because the fecal transplant was from someone with depression.
Wow, that's
Wild.
amazing. Yeah, I've read research that's been done on mice, or rats, I can't remember which, but they did transplants, and they found that basically when you did a fecal transplant from a slim mouse to an overweight mouse,
Mhm.
the overweight mouse got slimmer without changing its
Yeah.
diet, and vice versa. The slim mouse became overweight without changing its diet. And part of the reason why that happens is because the bacteria in your gut can control how many calories and how much sugar you absorb from your foods, and they can also drive inflammation in your body as well. And inflammation is a really big factor, very disruptive to hormones, and depleting of nutrients, and lots of ways that it can impact your progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, everybody's going to be looking up poop poop
I
poop
mean, it would be a great
implants.
solution, wouldn't it, if we could all just get a poop transplant from someone slim.
But yeah, no, but I love this approach that you have that takes in all these different elements of like the stress response, the gut health, And also you touched on toxic load there. So this is something that I have shared about in previous podcasts, just from the inflammation point of view, and having like family members who have are neurodiverse, asthma, all these different things. So it's something I'm really passionate about myself. But like from that point of view, like what could people do to reduce their toxic load or better support their bodies? Obviously, you mentioned the liver there, which yeah.
Yeah, so I always think the best thing to do to support your liver function is to reduce toxic load rather than like doing a detox or anything like that.
Mhm.
And in order to reduce toxic load, we need to be thinking about where are the toxins coming from. That could be it will be from all the different areas because there are, so many ways that we can be exposed to them, but we want to be thinking about things like our food. That may potentially mean opting for organic or opting for foods that are lower in pesticides. So
Mhm.
using the clean 15 and the dirty dozen list, which is really helpful. Um, and then thinking about things like pollution, exposure to pollution, and that could involve getting air purifiers or house plants that help to purify the air, particularly if you live on or work on a main road. Um, and filtering your water can be helpful.
Yeah.
Not really your basic Brita filters, and they don't really go far enough.
Mhm.
But there are various other systems out there that can remove a lot of the impurities from water. And then thinking about things like fragrances
Yeah.
and air fresheners and cleaning products and beauty products. I think that's a really big area because for most women, we wake up every day, we put on 10 different products, 20 different products. And then we might work or live where we've got air fresheners or reed diffusers or that sort of thing going constantly, get home, light a candle, we're
Yeah.
exposed to it all constantly. And, even though we're not actually touching the fragrances, we're breathing them in.
Mhm.
And your body has to detox that. Your body has to eliminate it. And they do have an impact. So we want to start thinking about using cleaner products that have more natural ingredients in, particularly skincare as well.
Mhm. Yeah, as I went to Pilates yesterday, and right next to me on the wall was a air freshener, just like puffing out. So I just like switched it off. I was like, it's not my studio, but hey, that is going off. I'm not breathing that in through my whole class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all these little things, isn't it, that are just around us that, yeah. I,
Yeah, and it can feel a bit overwhelming because when you start looking into it, we are surrounded by these things, but the efforts that you make are cumulative, and it doesn't have to be this big overhaul that you do to start reducing your toxic load. It can just be that as you run out of products, you replace it with something that's a little bit cleaner, and doesn't have parabens and phthalates and artificial fragrances and all that sort of thing.
yeah, amazing. And with regards to like weight loss, how important would you say that mindset is?
I think it's massive because it's all well and good knowing what to do, but if you can't implement that consistently,
Mm.
then there's no point. You're not going to get anywhere. And having a good mindset, having a positive relationship with food and with yourself is, key for you to be able to make new habits and keep those habits going.
Mhm.
um I think mindset in my experience is something that a lot of people think they're okay with, think they don't need any help with, but then you know we notice these repeating patterns, or kind of typical places where they might quote unquote fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
Um and that's when it becomes obvious that there is some mindset work that needs to be done, and it can be linked in with limiting beliefs that they have about
Mhm.
themselves, or maybe it's to do with the way that they're thinking about food and labeling foods as good and bad, and that has an impact on how they feel when they eat those foods. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's such a interesting subject, and I think it should be where really we all start when we want to change anything, whether it's a weight
Yeah.
goal or a health goal or another goal in life. I think getting your mindset in a really good place is the first step.
Yeah, because I guess it's really interesting. You mentioned weight loss surgery earlier, isn't it? And there's so much information around that and how much, because the behaviors and the mindset hasn't really been processed during that transformation, a lot of people really struggle to maintain that weight loss after that, don't they?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking the other day actually about, when is weight loss surgery a good option for someone? And I think it does come down to, I was thinking about someone that I know. Um, I think it does come down to the mindset and that person not having their mindset in the right place to be able to consistently follow a healthy lifestyle, and also not being open-minded to doing that mindset
Yeah.
work. um but no one's a lost cause, and it might just be that now it isn't the right time for them.
Hmm. Absolutely. Amazing. So the majority of my listeners are here because they are looking to improve their health, whether that be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And I always like to kind of inspire them based on kind of our experts' experience as well. So for your own personal, mental, emotional, physical health, what type of things do you weave into your life?
I think for me, um I always find journaling really helpful. It's not something that I do all that often or all that consistently, but when my mind is like swimming and, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like I don't know how to move forward with something, or I just feel like I've got a problem and a decision to make or something like that, I just find journaling so, so helpful.
Yeah.
And it's for me, it's almost like a way of self-coaching,
Hmm.
just to help me deeper understand the problem, stop the thoughts going around my head, and also come up with a solution or a way forwards as well. So I think that's really, really powerful.
Amazing. Thank you. And my podcast is called Be Free. So I just wondered, when do you get that sensation of feeling free?
I play a lot of sport, and I always feel quite free when I'm playing sport. So I play badminton and netball, and I think it's a combination of, I don't think about anything else when I'm playing
Uh,
sport. I think about the sport and the game that I'm playing. Um, but also it's just that feeling of, running around like a lunatic and,
yeah,
really blowing the cobwebs away and burning some energy and just having fun. So I think that's when I feel most free.
I love that. I love that. And that's quite inspiring as well. Because, yeah, I think, as a mindfulness teacher, one of the times that I've experienced mindfulness so mindful was when I started boxing.
Mm.
And I was like, everyone's like, this is like the least likely sport for me to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, just that focus. And as you say, the fun. And so yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And for anybody that's listening, like how can they connect with you? I'll obviously put links to your Instagram and your website, but do you have anything coming up? Like I joined one of your webinars and I found that really fascinating, just getting this insight of your program and how it comes together. Do you have anything like that coming up soon?
Yeah, so on my website, which is louisedigbynutrition.com, you can watch, I have a masterclass that you can watch anytime.
Oh, brilliant.
And then what I'm tending to do is once a month do a live session as
Mhm.
well, which focuses on like almost like the next steps after that first webinar. So yeah, doing that first webinar is a good place to start, and then you'll be on my email list and you'll see when other things are coming up.
Brilliant. Amazing. Thank you. So yeah, is there anything else you want to add for anybody that's listening before we jump off today?
So no, I think we pretty much covered it. I think I'd like to reiterate what I said before about no one's ever a lost cause. I think I have a lot of women come to me that say, I feel like I'm a lost cause. I've tried
Mhm.
everything. But it's it's about trying an approach that is actually aligned with what your body needs and, where you're at in your life. So if things haven't worked for you, it's probably not your fault. It's probably the approach that you've taken, and there are other options out there.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been lovely to get to know you a bit better. And yeah, anybody who has any questions about anything Louise and I have spoken about, please do reach out to Louise to go watch that webinar, learn some bits and pieces. And yeah, we are here for it. So thank you. And I will look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.